Recording is started. So,
All right.
how did you get into Destiny, I guess?
Um, I I used to be like a in the big in like the PC building community, and so I did that a lot. And I had a couple friends that were playing Destiny at the time. One of them still plays Destiny a lot, and they just were like, "You should play Destiny." Actually, there was this one girl. She bothered me about Destiny for like maybe a full year. She would just all the time just tell me to play Destiny, and so I was like, okay, maybe I'll give it a try sometime. And yeah, I just one day a bunch of us just got on Destiny, like a bunch of like new players with a couple people that have already played. And yeah, I just spent like an entire day like punching ads in the Cosmodrome on my Titan, and that's how I got started. Yeah.
What got you hooked into Destiny?
So I started playing like end of season of The Chosen. So I don't know, I like the game a lot, and I I think what got me really hooked was like doing raids for sure. Like I during season of The Chosen, I mean, like I did like one or two GMs, so I wasn't like super casual, but like I was barely getting into it. And then when Splicer came around, which was like Anarchy Breach season,
Oh yeah, yeah.
I did a lot of raids. I did a lot. I think I did I don't know, I did like hundreds of raids, just like LFG raids. I don't know, raiding was just so fun because like you could talk to people and like you could get better at an activity, and it's just I was just very, very like eager to learn, and so I was very excited, and I just got on every day and I just did raids, and it was really fun. So that really hooked me in for sure.
Yeah, I like raids too. I mean, we're both people who like to do raids. We both speedrun them. So, I think that's
Yeah.
one aspect that we share where we enjoy the raids of Destiny. What are your current thoughts on the state of the game?
I mean, there's a lot of aspects, I guess, but I mean, it's not like on its deathbed or anything. I think Destiny will always have people that kind of enjoy it, but it's really up to Bungie whether or not like the game kind of goes down the road of being this seasonal model where like everybody just comes by once a season and maybe just plays the bare bones of the season and maybe does the day one and then just doesn't play the game, or whether they want to renew their focus on really making replayable content. Unfortunately, in recent times we've seen them kind of go down the former path, but if they could return to the latter path, I'm sure it'd be more enjoyable for longtime fans of the franchise. But I am me personally, like I'm a speedrunner. I pretty much just get on to speedrun or, teach people speedrunning. It's like whatever, or I make content. So regardless of what they do, unless they like kill the game or they do something that would be really, really bad for the game, which they haven't yet. I'm not personally affected that much, but of course, I would like to see the game move into a more healthy space.
What would that one thing that would kill the game for you be exactly?
If they like brought the game even further into like microtransaction hell, which has been discussed before, if they bring back sunsetting in a more aggressive way, I think that would be really bad for the game. If they, for example, stop producing raids because the content is too expensive for what it actually yields in terms of revenue, that would be really bad for the game. Basically, if they kill what makes Destiny Destiny, which is like, iconic raids, beautiful environment design, the gunplay, if they ever did something to that to change how that
Hmm.
like fundamentally worked, that would definitely kill the game. But, they're not I don't think they're interested in doing anything that radical. So,
Yeah,
I think
for
it'll be
sure.
fine.
So off of the topic of the current state, if you could change anything about the current meta, what would it be?
Just like in terms of what? Like
Like PvE
damage,
weapon
movement?
meta, PvE
Oh,
weapon meta.
okay.
Let's say that.
Um I mean, it's not that bad right now. I'm not super unhappy with it. I mean, obviously, from a raw game design perspective, like Worm God Banner is like a little strong. But that's like, the reason why a lot of people like Worm God Banner, besides it's being obviously very strong and enabling like solo one phases and stuff, is that Bungie doesn't really provide players the option with a solo one. I think a solo one phase of like dungeon bosses should be possible. You might have to work your ass off for it, but I think it should be possible. And it shouldn't only be possible when like, broken stuff is around. So, you know, I'm kind of on the fence about it, but in terms of like the overall damage meta, I'm happy with it. It's not like horrible or anything. It's fine.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm not too particularly upset with it. I think personally, I think GLs could get a slight bump in damage. maybe to
Yeah,
make
that'd be
them a
fun.
little bit more on par with Rockets. But I think they're also at a relatively decent state right now. That's probably the
I
one
mean,
thing
if
I
I
would
was
change.
on Yeah, if I was on the sandbox design team, I have a lot of things I would change, but just from an overall like from a player standpoint, like from a speedrunner standpoint maybe, like is the meta boring or is it like unenjoyable? It's fine. It's it's not horrible or I don't hate it. So,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
I think the meta is relatively good right now.
Mhm.
So you said that raids were one of your favorite aspects in the game. If you could design
Yeah.
your own raid, what would it look like? Enemy type, encounters, something like that. What would you want it to focus on?
Um If I could design my own raid, I would probably, well, if I'm patterning off of what Bungie's already made, I would focus on encounters um that are very responsive to player decision making. Some of the worst raid encounters, I should say, in Destiny, the ones that people hate the most or the ones that just feel like a slog, are always raid encounters that are very unresponsive to player interaction and are very time gated, right? They kind of drag on for no reason. And some of the best raid encounters are the ones where, if players do something correctly, they're rewarded, whether it's making the raid encounter easier to finish or making the raid encounter faster. Those are the encounters that are pretty nice. And of course, having unique mechanics is nice as well. In terms of like species or whatever, like I don't really care that much. I guess like having a species that we haven't seen very often would be nice, like a Scorn raid or something would be cool. Out of compared to the current raids that we have right now. But like anything with unique mechanics and low time gating and good player interaction and also player involvement is something I like. I mean, when I made like the speedrunner like encounter ranking video, I kind of went over the
Hmm.
factors that speedrunners look for in an encounter, and I
Yeah.
think in just generally speaking, those factors kind of do contribute to a holistic good rating counter. There's a couple other things that casuals look for, like aesthetics, design choices, stuff like that as well. But besides that, it's like you know, I think Destiny, like the art direction is usually there, and so I don't think that's like something I really need to talk about. I don't think they've almost never really failed on that front. I mean, Destiny's art team is very very competent.
Oh yeah, for sure. The art is amazing in the game. So, how did you get into Destiny 2 speedrunning and when did you get into it?
So that kind of ties into like how I first got into Destiny. So during
Hmm.
Splicer, that was when Master Raids first came out with Master Vault of Glass, and it was pretty hard back then. Like a lot of people were complaining about the artifact system, like you had to be plus 30, plus 40, whatever, to like not die like all the time in
Yeah.
Master. Um, and so at the time, I kind of took this as like a personal challenge because VoG is the raid that released during the season that I really started playing. So I kind of yeah, took it as like a personal challenge. I did like master vogs like all the time. I would just join LFG master vogs and I would like try to play better and come up with strats that would help me just do better in the raid. And eventually I did the raid a lot and I was like I started like taking other people through it and like teaching them like strategies that I learned and developed while doing master vog. And eventually I made a server and people started joining, like farmers started joining, speedrunners started joining because they heard that I host master vog runs that are like easy, and a lot of people wanted like time lost Fatebringers, time lost Found Verdict, whatever. So it was kind of a hot commodity. A lot of people joined, and eventually that got me in contact with Wind Clan, which is now defunct. But it was like a clan of like farmers and speedrunners, sort
Oh
of,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
and
remember Wind.
yeah, it was like Robot, Oshi, and all
Yeah,
those
yeah.
guys. So yeah, so I did API runs with them for a while. We did like VOW, we did VOG and stuff like that. And eventually that kind of became running RTA VOG. They wanted someone for RTA VOG and they're like, "Oh yeah, he runs, he does his VOG experience, so put him in VOG." And so yeah, that was my first RTA experience. We ran VOG and we ran VOW together as well. And although, I don't play with some of those players as much as I used to, that's how I got started. Yeah, I was kind of just took off from there.
That's actually a really interesting story, honestly. That's not what I expected. Just like you saw some speedruns, you started speedrunning with a group, and then you just eventually, came. But
No, I got
farming
kind of lucky.
master, yeah,
I got kind of plucked because of what I was doing. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, in farms and stuff like that, I would always, Destiny has always been a game to me where like I'm always looking to kind of learn more and improve. Like that's why I did raids so much. Like I was always just trying to get better at the raids, and I'd play it like I there was a period of time during like Lost where every single week I would do a looted clear on every single character, like every single week for every single raid. So I don't do that anymore, but that's kind of how I got like I never like clear farmed any raid besides Garden, and that's how I got like 300 clears of like every raid at the time. Because I just did one every week on every character for like a
Hmm.
long time. And so every time I would go into the raid, I would just try to like learn and learn and learn. And like even when I joined clear farms, I would just ask people questions all the time and like just try to get better at the raid. And eventually that translated into, speedrunning. So yeah.
Yeah. What is your favorite class to speedrun on?
Um I mean, obviously, Warlock and Hunter have access to really fast sword movement.
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I just play whatever's kind of required of me. I mean, I don't really view classes as like very just like I don't know. I just they're just kind of tools, right? Like you just
Yeah.
whatever run you have that calls for a specific class, like you just use the tool that best fits the lock. That's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
much it.
that makes sense. I just
Hmm.
thought I'd ask that as sometimes
No,
people do
a
have
lot
a
of speedrunners are
preference.
particular. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So in speedrunning, what is your favorite type of role to do? Like skips or more mechanical things? What is your favorite role to do?
I like to do encounters. I mean, I'm pretty like well known in my group at least for just like being wanting to do encounters. I don't know. I don't find skip rolls to be that fun. I mean, I don't mind skip rolls where you're participating in like Nezarec for example,
Hmm.
like 3-4 and Ron. That's like a skip roll where you're integrated into the encounter, but then you also leave on like an early transition. So like that, I don't mind as much. But skip rolls where you're kind of like 3-4 and Goss. I don't know. I don't find that to be that interesting or
Or
interactive.
like
Um,
DSM for Ron?
yeah, yeah, or like DSM for Ron, for example. Yeah, I
Hmm.
like being in the encounter and being able to, tell what's going on and control the pace and communicate with my teammates because that's really where raid speedrunning in Destiny differentiates itself from other forms of speedrunning in other games. Like, there's no other game out there really where the amount of collaboration in like an FPS game is seen on this level. So it's I just like being with teammates and communicating and reacting to ongoing changes, circumstances. I don't know. I don't. I'll play whatever my team needs me to play typically. Um, but yeah, I do like being in the encounter, and that also helps me like generally as like a team leader these days. It helps me see what's going on a lot more. If I'm on a skip roll, it's like harder to interact and review what my teammates are doing. So.
Hmm. Well, I mean, it could kind of go other ways. If your skip roll doesn't really need to do much, they can actually like watch streams and see where it is, like different
Oh yeah,
POVs, just chill in Discord.
yeah, I do
But
it
being
kind
in
of
the
regardless.
encounter actually helps too,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
because you
for
get
sure.
like the front view from it.
Hmm.
So, what was the easiest piece of tech for you to learn?
Um, I don't know. I mean, um, I'm not sure. I mean, well skating and shatter skating are pretty easy, I guess. I mean, that's like the most common tech that's used in runs, and
Yeah.
uh, I mean, I think I had a head start because back before Eager, like Worldline was the only way to like shatter skate, or like you could
Hmm.
shatter skate with like guillotine or something, but it was really slow. But Worldline was like what people used, and I used to just like do LFG Garden or like LFG like whatever, and I would just always like Worldline skate or Worldline shatter skate on Hunter, and so I got like really good at just doing it before people ever really started paying attention to shatter skating as much. Because back then, like Worldline was like fast, but it wasn't like so fast that you would like give up your exotic for it a lot of the time in runs.
Hmm.
So people were still on Warlocks and like fake skating with Lament at the time. But I was on Worldline all the time because it was just really fun. It was really fast. And so when Eager came around and people were learning shatter skating, I was like, oh, this is just like it's like Worldline shatter skating. It's just like faster inputs. So I guess I had an easier time learning that than other people.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it hasn't really changed much throughout the years. It's just added an extra input. Like regular world line skate was just heavy attack jump, and then you just added super air dive into the mix.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
all right. What was the hardest piece of tech for you to learn?
Um, I'd say probably slipstreaming, mostly because I didn't really commit myself to practicing it. Because I usually don't practice movement unless it's needed for a run. Then I'll
Hmm.
practice it as much as I need to. And slipstreaming, I haven't participated in any categories that require slipstreaming yet. So I my slipping is not great, and it's taken me a while because I just kind of forget to practice a lot.
Hmm.
So that I guess it would be that. It's mostly just because I don't use it. If I ever run DSC and I'm on entrance, or if I ever run like grasp or something, or prof or whatever, and I'm on one of those roles, then I'll definitely put a lot more time and commit to it. But I don't run anything that requires slipstreaming, so I don't really
Yeah.
practice as much as I should.
I mean, there's only one raid, and you mainly do raids, that really has a use for slip skating. Maybe. I don't think Val has a
Mhm.
use for slip skating, or not slip skating, slip streaming.
No,
So,
no, that doesn't. No.
I mean, it's really situational. So it makes sense that you haven't really practiced it. I only slipstream when I go to Nessus when I'm bored, and I just sit there and
Yeah,
just slipstream and think, and then I'm like, okay, I have something to do now.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But that totally makes sense. I think this has been the same pretty much per everyone. Is well skating's the easiest, and slipstreaming's been the hardest when I've asked this
yeah,
question.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
since you said you started speedrunning in Splicer, if I'm correct, and you
Yep.
started the game in
No, I
Chosen
started speedrunning in Lost, and I
Lost.
started really playing the game in Splicer, and I just started picking up the game at the end of Chosen.
Okay. So since you picked up the game in Chosen and started speedrunning in Lost, what old raid would you have wanted to speedrun?
Um, that's a good question. I mean, Levy looks pretty fun, and it looks like it would be kind of fun in today's meta as well. So, it doesn't seem like extremely time gated or anything. Um, Spire looks like it'd be decent as well, although I don't think it would be as interesting in today's meta. Eater looks pretty boring. Scourge, I think I would enjoy as well. I mean, it's very short, and
Hmm.
I've run RNG Horde Nightmare raids as well, so whatever. And then what am I missing? Crown I don't know as much about, but Crown doesn't look too long either. So yeah, I mean,
Brown was pretty much the same thing all three encounters. It was pretty much ad locked, so the faster your ad clear, the faster your run was going to be. And
yeah, yeah. I kind of know how the encounters work, but from a speedrunning perspective, like I never really took a deep dive and uh kind of understood the encounters at that level. So I'm not sure how much I would enjoy it like speedrunning wise. I mean, as a normal raid, it looks okay.
mhm,
Um, but Levy and Scourge, I mean, those are the raids that really attracted a lot of speedrunners, and I think it's for good reason. I mean, they look like they're pretty fun to
they
run. So
they by far were the best two raids. The only thing that sucked was Levy was on that 6 week rotation, so it
yeah,
was pretty
yeah,
much you had to be playing top tier each weekend that it or week that it came in because you'd have
yeah,
to
yeah.
wait
I
six
mean,
more weeks.
yeah, Vortex has told me about how like everyone would literally take time off work during Levy week and just like
Hmm.
lock in, and like people like literally random people would just like run Levy during that week because it was such like a big phenomenon
Yeah,
in the
it
Destiny
was
community and the
it was
culture.
kind of like a holiday every 6 weeks, pretty much. Every
Yeah, yeah,
speedrunner,
yeah,
no matter what run you were doing, you would always stop on Levy week and go immediately to Levy, straight back into
mm-hmm.
the jail, running
Yep,
gauntlet dog pools. So I think that was
yep,
one of the best raids to speedrun personally in all of D2.
yeah, yeah.
So, what is your biggest piece of advice for anyone looking to get into speedrunning?
Um, that's a good question. I've been asked that question like a lot recently.
Hmm.
Um, I'm like, I guess I'll just give you the answer I've given. I mean, it's basically just, um, I think I gave 3 tips in another interview. I don't remember what it was, but I remember 2 of them. One of them is, I mean, it's a video game at the end of the day, so like make sure you're having fun, right?
Hmm.
Don't tire yourself out, burn yourself out for no reason. At the end of the day, if you're not having fun, then what's the use? So make sure you're having fun. I mean, a lot of people, like, speedrunning is, in my opinion, like just naturally pretty fun. So most of the time you're gonna be having fun anyway. Just remember, it's a video game at the end of the day. And then number two is don't be afraid to ask for help. And honestly, people find it very hard to reject or resist people that have like genuine intellectual like curiosity. So if you're don't be ever afraid to like ask for help or ask questions. As long as you show that you have like a legitimate desire to improve, even people who are like relatively reserved or like maybe toxic even, they generally tend to fold, and they'll help you out. So as long as you're always like willing to go into things with an open mind, it's a very good attitude. Oh, I think I know where the third one is. Yeah. Whenever you do an activity or like whenever you're running something or even if you're not running something, always try to keep your time productive. So like whenever you're entering a run session, right? Try to get work done in advance, like so you know what's going on ahead of time, so you save everyone's time. And when you are there, or like even if you're not even running, like let's say you're doing like an LFG raid and you're just trying to get better at the raid and familiarize yourself, just try to be productive with your time, right? Always try to iterate and be better than the last time you were in that activity, or VOD review yourself. A lot of people are too afraid to do that. Just like be productive with your time and always try to improve every time you are on a new iteration of an activity. That's
Yeah,
something that a lot of people struggle with in Destiny because it's very easy to fall into the casual loop of just doing an activity over and over again the same way. So, yeah, just always try to improve.
yeah. So with that piece of advice, what I actually used to do when I was first getting into like hardcore end game PvE is I used to watch like Glad and Redeem speedrun of Levy, and then I'd try to implement some of the stuff they would use into my base gameplay when I would do
Yeah,
Levy. So stuff like
yeah, for sure.
that does really help. So that I think
Yeah,
that
even if
is a
it's a small thing every time, like just try to always add something every time,
mhm.
you know?
Yeah, that's a very good and strong piece of advice. I think a lot of people could learn from that.
Hmm.
All right. What were your thoughts on the Crota speedrun tourney, and would you change anything about the tourney?
Um, I think it went about as well as it could have, honestly. Like, yeah, yeah. I don't think I really have any issues with what went on. We had some good participation, a lot of new names, a lot of people who haven't speedrun at all or speedrun a raid before. So I was pretty happy about that. We had showings from like all the major speedrunning clans, so that was cool as well. And yeah, I mean, I would say like I hoped like more people would show up, but I can't even say that because like I know that there's not that many people that have the capacity or resources to run a raid. So I'm just glad that all the people that showed up, and my goal is has always been and will continue to be to just grow the community more so that in the future when we have events like this, there's more people that can enjoy the events.
Yeah, I personally really enjoyed it. I've had tons and tons of fun, especially because it gave me the opportunity to meet like Llama and Bergen and Hater, and that was really great for me. Um, and the event in all was just really fun, and watching over like the stream from Evan F's POV and like watching how he was like live commentating over it and all the crazy runners running and like how good those
Hmm.
runs were. It was just 10 out of a 10 experience for me. And same with the promotion for it. I think the promotion was amazing as well.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I think if more people get into speedrunning, the next tournament is going to be even better.
Okay, yeah, for sure. I agree.
Yeah. So as a Destiny player, what are your short-term goals?
My short-term goals. I mean, I have a lot of content I want to make. I kind of wish I had more of me, like more clones of me, so I could make the content more efficiently. Um, and I also want to just, I don't know, run some raids that I've been wanting to run. That's my main stuff. I mean, it's really just for me right now. Destiny's just like speedrunning and making content about speedrunning or similar stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, that's pretty much similar goals to what I have. I have like a little mini sheet just for goals that I'm trying to check off for this season, like trying to make sure that I have triple digits in all the raids as like a little mini goal. Do a couple more RTA speed runs, get those out, and then some content creation here and there. So relatively similar goals and just speed run, same old, same old.
Hmm.
What are your long term goals as a Destiny player?
Uh, long-term goals. I want to make it so that if anybody, I think speedrunning the game is really fun. And I think a lot of people are missing out on it because of like unnecessary barriers. So my goal long term is to like try and create a trail of resources that is relatively easy to follow and appealing to a mainstream audience so that more people can join in on the fun that is Destiny 2 speedrunning. Um, and I also, I like running raids, so I just want to keep running more raids with I've also like recently tried to like expand the pool of players that I run with. So I'm trying to like teach new runners directly, um, like hard RTA strats, and I'm also trying to just play with like people from friend groups that I just assume I wouldn't be able to play with normally. I'm just asking them to see what happens. So yeah, I'm just like on the lookout and trying to play with more people as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I popped into your stream the other day and you were teaching garden speedruns, and I thought that was really cool that
Oh yeah.
you were interacting with the community and actually hands-on teaching runners, because that hasn't
Hmm.
really been done before in my opinion. It's always been in DMs and people are like, "What's the strat?" and then it's a quick this right here or watch record and then kind of innovate on your own time. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's good that you're doing this hands-on approach and teaching new runners hands-on, of course.
Yep.
So I don't know if you do many low mans, but uh, do you have any intentions on doing any low man speed runs?
Only if I get really bored of six man, which I don't think I will, because there's 8 raids, probably gonna be 9 soon, maybe 10, and I'm just gonna cycle through them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, some of the trio categories look kind of interesting, but at the end of the day, to me, raids are the most interesting, interactive, unique speedrunning category in Destiny, and like subtracting people from them generally just makes strats more convoluted or like just I don't know, not necessarily more interesting to execute, but like more annoying. Um that's not true for every encounter necessarily. And stuff like Solar Run is obviously like pretty cool. Um but really like six-man raid speeds are I think like just the most interesting to plan for, to execute. Um yeah, I just really like yeah, I like six-man raid speeds a lot.
Yeah, I think I fall under that same category. I've tried to dabble in some low man speeds, but it's usually dropped my attention because I'm like, this is kind of annoying. Like, I was trying King's Fall trio speeds and just sitting on left side for 10 minutes, going back and forth was kind of irritating. Because
Yeah.
if you run it back, you're just going to be sitting there and going back, forth for another 10 minutes.
Yeah, 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 for sure.
Do you have any goals for day ones that you have? Uh, the next day one?
Yeah, my day one team is really trying to take the next day one like way more seriously. So we're
Mm-hmm.
doing a lot of like work together to come up with some cool stuff for day one to try and work on like chem and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we're trying to go for worlds first. So yeah, I'm excited for that.
Are you running with the same team that you did for Crota?
Slightly modified. I think it's like -2 or like two people changed out. So
Yeah. I remember talking with Az, and he was on the team, and you guys performed insane on that day one on Crota.
I mean, yeah, I mean,
Because you
a
got
lot
like
of the team
50
was
something, right? For
I don't
Crota?
remember. I think yeah, somewhere around there. But a lot of the team was pretty dissatisfied with what happened in that day one.
Oh,
So
yeah. Totally
yeah,
understandable.
I mean they have very high expectations.
Yeah,
So
50, 54. So,
yeah,
I mean, it's not like it
I
was
mean
a bad placement.
I'm happy with placing of course, but yeah, like they have very high expectations, and I think going forward, we have the right tools and the right amount of time now to really because like the problem with that day one team in past like day ones is sure there were like some chem issues, player issues, like whatever, but like we just didn't play with each other enough, and we have a lot of time now, so we're gonna be playing with each other a lot and really trying to work things out and get a nice structure going.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. So, since you have placed in a day one, what does it take to actually place in a day one? What's the mindset and strategies players should use?
I'm gonna be honest. It's if you just want top 100, it's not that difficult. The real competition lies within like the top 3 to 5 teams. And you'll notice this like if you go into Raid Report and you look at the world's first completions, usually top 1 and 2 are maybe like a little bit close, and then there's like hours between like 1 and 10. So realistically speaking, if you just want to place, you just need to like again, if you're not going for world's first, you just want to place. You just need to have a good grasp of what the top teams did on the encounters in front of you, And then you just need a team that's good on execution. So execution wise, that means no silly deaths, right? That means everybody can hit okay damage at least, and everybody sticks to the same plan. Even if it's not necessarily a perfect plan, everybody sticks to the same plan. And also, no one flakes, and people are like people all have similar expectations. A lot of day one teams fail that are like more casual oriented because people have different expectations, right? They're like, oh, I didn't expect it to go for this long, and they drop or like stuff like that. So I'm sure everybody
Hmm.
has their own story related to stuff like that. But the main thing is just have six people who have the same commitment level. So they're all there for the long haul, and make sure they're all up to date with the game. None of them are just like returning to the game like the day before the day one, right? So they all have
Yeah,
like a basic understanding of what they have to use for damage, what they need to do to survive, like a good
the meta
build that they can take through
loadouts.
the entire raid. Yeah, or not even necessarily meta, but just something they're comfortable on, that they won't die on, that they can help and contribute to the team on. Have some basic structure, right? So like when you get to an encounter, you know who's debuff, they're comfortable doing debuff,
Hmm.
everybody's comfortable doing rolls, and just have make sure everyone's on the same page whenever you're doing mechanics, right? Because if you just want to place and you're not going for worlds first, all the mechanics will be figured out ahead of time. So just make sure everyone's on the same page, everyone fully understands what's going on, and then all you need to do is execute. And if you do that, you'll get maybe even top 50 if your team is consistent enough on execution, and for sure you'll get top 100.
Yeah, I think those are good tips. The only raid that I've done decent in was Root. Other than that, teams have fallen apart and not the same expectations have held up. So I think that's a good thing. Is everyone needs to be on the same page. Make sure that you guys play together. Uh, what you said, have decent stuff that you're comfortable with. Have people set to specific roles. So yeah, I think I agree across that board.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let me think here. I did not write down some day one questions. What did you think about the difficulty of Crota? Was it too hard, or was it just the right amount of difficulty for a day one?
I thought it was good. I thought it was good. Maybe a little bit. If we're gonna be like super picky, it was a little bit easy on the combat side. It could have been like a little bit harder, but I think it was about the right difficulty. I think that was fine. I think obviously, root was a little easy, and then I think Vow combat wise was also a little easy besides Rolk. But I think Crota overall, like just across the entirety of the raid, was fine. I think it was fine.
Yeah, I think Crota was relatively good. I think it's where the difficulty level should lie for a day one, as it's
Yeah,
not
I think a
supposed to
lot of
be.
a lot of teams were pleasantly surprised by the reprise being as good as it was.
Mhm.
So
Well, it completely like changed the raid. It like you could go from D1 to D2, and it's just the same map. This is a
yeah,
completely different raid.
easily just the biggest transformation when it comes to reprises. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's what they honestly should do for most of the reprises. I think King's Fall they did a good job on the reprise. I feel like it already had a
Yeah.
good base layer of mechanics, and Vogue was kind of an transformation, but Crota did an amazing job as it
Yeah.
reworked the entire raid and actually made the
Hmm.
chalice throughout every encounter, made it so you actually had to communicate with your team and actually felt like a real raid instead of a glorified strike like in
Yeah,
D1.
for sure. Hmm.
Um, I don't know if you have done Wrath, but if that is the next reprised raid, what would you like to see some changes with that if you have done it?
I have not done Wrath.
Okay, so we'll just skip
Yeah.
past that.
Yeah. I've never
I
played D1.
I only did Wrath probably like a month before the Crota tourney, just because I was like, might as well do this raid. It's the only raid I haven't done, so might as well go do
Hmm.
it. But Wrath is also a pretty fun one. I barely remember anything from it, but it's pretty fun.
Yep.
Well, I've ran out of questions, so I don't got any more to yap about with you.
Okay. I
So,
mean, do you have anything like, you're personally like curious about or anything? I mean, like
um,
I'm ask or anything.
let me think. This is a hard one actually for me. He's turned the tables
I
on
mean, if
me.
you don't have
He's
anything to say, you
interviewing
don't have
me.
anything to say. It's fine.
Um, yeah, no,
I mean, because these are all pretty standard questions. Like maybe you have something I don't know out of left field.
I really don't, because these are
Okay.
also questions that I like. came up with personally as like, oh, I'm interested in this. Maybe other people would also be interested in similar stuff
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like
great,
kind of learn more
100%.
about you. Okay, here. How about this? What made you interested in D2 content creation?
Oh, I mean, that's just kind of like, so people kept asking me to make a double special video because um I kept like I used okay, I was like I've been using double special for like a long, long time
Hmm.
because it kind of naturally just occurred to me that like I don't like how primaries feel because they feel like shit. So like I just used two specials and like I just got good at using it. And like a lot of people were like asking me like, you know, how do you use two specials without running out of ammo, or like how do you deal with it, like blah blah blah. And so I was like, okay, I mean, I'll just make a video so that every time people ask me questions, I can just show them the video. And that video, like, you know, did a lot better than I expected, right? So
Hmm.
I was like, okay, I mean, like, if people want to watch this, I mean, I can make other shit. So I'll just make other shit. And ever since then, it's just been like I've just been making other shit. So that's it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think
yeah,
I think your double special video was the first thing that like actually got me to like know about you more in the community other than watching a
yeah.
few speedruns from you. Like I think I watched the Vow speedrun,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't specifically know the Relic Man himself.
Yeah, 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 for sure.
So that definitely put your name out there a lot more. Actually, how did you come up with your name? Why did you
Oh,
pick the Aegis?
it's a combination of a few things, but it's mainly you know the Pokemon Aegis Slash?
Hmm.
Yeah, that motherfucker's cool as hell, bro.
I remember when I was playing X and Y. That was one of my Pokemon on my team, and
Yeah,
then of
that
course
Pokemon's mad cool.
your Vog background and
I
the
mean, yeah,
shield is
that
called the
honestly came
Aegis.
after. Yeah, people are like, "Oh, did you name yourself Aegis like after the Fog Relic?" And I was like, "The Fog Relic is named Aegis?" Like I didn't even know that at the time when someone asked me for the first time. But yeah, I've kind of embraced it now. I mean, it's you know, I play Destiny. It's part of Destiny. I I've done Fog a lot, I guess. So it's kind of part of my identity now.
Well, Vog was, I guess, a calling to you. Your
Yep.
name was Aegis.
Yeah.
The Aegis was like, "Yo, come be our relic."
Yep. 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 Exactly.
All right. Well, now that is finished all the questions. I can't think of any more. I'm
All right.
completely empty. So
Okay. All right.
thanks for coming on and having this interview and talk. I enjoyed it a lot.
All right. Great. Good to hear.
So thanks for anyone tuning into this video. Go check out Aegis. He's a cool guy, very informative, and teaches a lot of speedrunning stuff. So check him
Yeah.
out.